here, and today we are going to look at racking out the inside of my Ford Transit Custom for the J job as a plasterer. Now I looked online for some inspiration for what to do for this, and there was lots of electricians' vans and gas works van, heating engineers, but I didn't seem to find any that were to do with plastering or how a plasterer would do it. So this is going to be a bit of a journey for me and you guys just into the best way to do this. I have got some inspiration for some of those videos, like the electricians ones and how to rack things out, but we are going to be kind of like just half doing this on the fly. I've got some plans and some ideas which I'm going to tell you now, but then it's going to be a case of building it and planning as we go. But yep, today's episode is about building out the van. So this is the first van build I've done. I've been working out of my car unbelievably for about 3 years, and then enough was enough. I needed to get a van. I chose the Ford Transit Custom because it does fit nicely. An 8-foot board in this bottom bit here pretty much goes from side to side to where the wheel arches are, and then comes more or less up to the edge here. So it's a perfect size for getting boards in. So that was the main basis for getting this van, and that is one of the first things we need to look at in terms of the design. Now, as a domestic plasterer, I've probably never bought more than 10 boards in a go. I probably never needed to. Obviously, if you're looking at PIR boards or anything with an insulated backing, you're going to fit in less, but I do have the roof racking on the top, so as long as we're not going an insane distance, I can strap stuff on the roof if needs be. I do have the cable straps as well, if that was an issue, or potentially use some of this other space on top, or I could get things delivered, as long as I'm planning ahead. But essentially, just for everyday use, I want to get this space under here for about 10 boards, and then build a level on top, and then we'll go from there. So another thing really that limits the amount of boards I can get in here is this bulkhead, and I'm being governed by the depth here. Now, if anyone's got a Ford Transit, they'll know this bulkhead here actually comes out and then recesses back in at the bottom. So if we have a little look, the most I can really do is go at the top of this bulkhead here where the door is. But yeah, you're really governed by the fact that at a certain point this then starts kicking out, and so it'll push the boards out and over the edge. So if we look here, that probably starts coming up at about somewhere between 350 and 400 mil. But yeah, I'm looking to make a space that'll fit about 10 boards, so we probably won't even go that far. But yeah, if you were a plasterer who's maybe looking to get 20 boards in or 30 boards, you are going to be governed by how high you can go before the bulkhead starts kicking the boards out. But yeah, like I said, I think 10's enough for me. Anything beyond that, I'll have to be imaginative and improvise with my boards. But yeah, just something to consider. So the plan is to try and get 2 bits of wood here that are maybe 150 to 200 mil tall, and then as thin as possible, so we're not taking up too much space on these sides. Luckily, the wheel arches are longer than a board, so you've got 1.36 m there, and we're trying to go to 120, so we do have a bit of play. It means we also have a little bit we can use down the side to maybe put other bits and bobs that we might need that are a bit longer. But yeah, we do have plenty of space. So the idea is to get 2 bits of wood either side going straight down, and then we're going to place beams across along the other side, and then hopefully that'll make it nice and steady for them putting some 18mm ply on top of that, and then hopefully we'll be able to walk on it. So you can see Alice and me just getting the wood off the top of the van there. If you don't know, Alice is my labourer, if you've not watched any of our socials before. So yeah, she gave me a hand on a few bits of this project. And you can see us both just marking up the wood there, just for where everything's going to get cut and sort of notched into and drilled. So the bits that I've got there in old money, sort of 2x2 inch, is the battens that are going to go across, and then Alice is marking up on the uprights. So there she had 2 bits of 200mm by 20mm. So as I was explaining just earlier in the video, those will go on either side, just
by the wheel arches basically, and they'll sort of create the height for the void in which the plasterboards are going to go into. And it's just good to get all the prep done at this point, just marking and measuring, so we can just cut everything at once and put everything in place, and then we're not having to do any guesswork. So as usual, all your work is in the prep, but you know, it's worth just getting it sorted now, and then it makes life easier further down the road. And then once we've done our measuring, it's just a case of cutting everything to the right lengths. And yes, that's all we're doing here. And as you can see, the weather is glorious. If you don't know Hebden Bridge at all, it's very renowned for raining a lot. So you have to just get used to doing stuff in the rain. It's a bit of a pain, but yeah, it was sort of mid-January when we were doing this. So this was another reason why I get the prep all sorted, so we knew where all our cuts were. We just do everything at once, and and then not be outside in the cold too long. But yeah, it's you just get used to it really. It's just northern Hebden weather.
Right, so just to sort of visualise what we're doing, I was explaining to Alice, but I don't know if I'm not articulate enough. But this is essentially what we're trying to do here. So these are going to get routed out at each joint, so they fit in and interlock into one another. And then hopefully that'll make it a stronger structure. But essentially, or fundamentally, this is what we're trying to do. So we've got all the bits. We do actually need to cut a bit for each end, but we can do that easily. And then we've got our framework, and then from there it's just a case of putting it all together. And then we've got some 18mm ply to go over the top, and that should make a nice base for the next layer. Right, so in terms of getting all the pieces together, we did a little test piece here. You can see that we've cut a little 2-inch gap to get the 2x2 in, and then the other one will have a similar gap and the two will join up. We did this with the router, but it was actually quite hard to do. So we've decided instead that we're going to use the circular saw. We've set the depth on that, so we'll cut down each side and then just jigsaw the other angle across. And as you can see here, the weather is absolutely terrible now. I don't know if you can see that. It was proper sheeting it down here in Hebden, so we're going to have to move to cutting indoors, and so we don't really like doing that because it is where we live, and so we're going to try and keep the dust down as much as possible. But we do have this little dust extractor, cyclonic extractor, little DIY thing that we made. Charlie DIY, its channel, does those, so if you want a full video on how to make that, check his channel out. And then we just hook that up to the shop vac. And it should make it as dust free as possible.
So if you've not seen anything we've done on Instagram, which is where we do the main bulk of our renovation and the housework, then we're currently renovating our house, which is why the living room essentially looks like a workshop, because that's what it is at the moment. But any carpenters watching might want to avert their eyes now or start pulling all their hair out, because this is probably not the best way to do this, but it's just the way that worked for us. That I'm just doing these cuts down these bits of wood with the circular saw on basically just either side of 2 inches, so we can fit the other bits of wood in, sort of in the crosshatch sort of design that I've gone with. Like I say, this is incredibly crude. It's probably a better way of doing this, but this worked for us, and it's not like we're trying to make some fancy, finely made furniture. It's just, for the back of the van. So you can see here the jigsaw, I'm just cutting across the back, so we've got a nice little notched out bit, and then that worked for us.
Now that we've tweaked these ones, we're just seeing if they fit in, and hopefully they do. Perfect. And then that means when we put this in the van, this will all join up, and then we'll just stick a nail in just to keep it in tight, and maybe a bit of wood glue, and then the ply will go on top and make a nice firm floor to stand on. Hopefully that's the plan anyway.
So once we had all our structure sorted out, it was a case of cutting down the 18mm ply to fit on top and to slide into the van. So here I am using my straight edge as a guide for my circular saw. Again, in the comments, I'm sure I'll get people being very mad about that, but again, if somebody wants to buy me a track saw, that'd be lovely. But yeah, budget doesn't permit that. So it's a case of basically creating a jig for the circular saw. can see Alice and I now trying to post the top onto the structure, and yeah, we had to trim it a couple of times just to tweak it. Didn't want to make it too short, so the old trade saying cut it wrong, cut it long. I'd rather have to tweak it than cut too much off, and then you can't go back from there, can you?
Right, if we lift this up, just get them. Do they push back any further? Not really. We've got to make the holes deeper. It's all these little tweaks that take all the time.
Yeah. They won't no, stop
Right. Oh, how have you done it now? Yes!
Hey.
Goes in. Oh, get that nice and flush with the end.
Back a bit.
Right, so the little problem we had there was just these little hooks, which are actually quite useful being able to tie stuff down. We didn't want to hide them. We notched out the uprights before, so again we just had to notch out these bits on the ply so we could see them. So after that little tweak, we are all good.
Oh.
What's up?
My head came out.
Ah. Oh, well, don't do that. Nobody wants your head to come out. Right guys, so that is stage one done. We've got the platform, the raised platform on, which means we can fit plasterboards underneath. We've got a nice little gully that we've made down the side, which I'll show you in the next episode, where we're going to be able to slide things like bits and bobs, straight edges, derbies, but this is great, this works, it's nice and sturdy. We were a little bit worried before we put the ply on, but having the ply all screwing in and binding it all up has really made a massive difference to its strength, and putting on those noggins as well. So even with two of us on here now, like if Alice stands up, there's absolutely no way that's going anywhere. So I mean that means that when you're putting bags of cement on or plaster or anything that's heavy, and which you do have to deal with a lot in plastering, this should hopefully be able to do that while still being able to get plasterboards underneath. So yeah, bit of an engineering head scratcher, but we've got there, which is awesome. Bye.
Bye.